Everybody, how are you? So, welcome back. It's been a minute since I was popping on here to read you an excerpt from my book. The working title has been Grateful: Faith, Healing, and the Gift of Music. And I keep telling you the title is changing, but I haven't released the new one yet. So, just be patient. I will. This is a 65,000 word Christian testimony, basically glorifying God and telling you how He got me through some of the most difficult times in my life as I tried hard to navigate the rough terrain of living with bipolar disorder my entire adult life. So I will tell you the big spoiler alert is that mine is a happy ending. You know, I've won a battle a lot of people have lost, and I live today in remission. I have a very fulfilling life on medication. I mean, I don't think I'll ever have a life without it, but I'm incredibly grateful because it gives me a life today. So I wrote the book for a lot of reasons. One, to glorify God, and two, so that people who are still fighting a battle, who maybe are not in remission yet, and their families who want to see them overcome, I want them to hear my story because it's pretty hairy at times, like this excerpt that I'm going to read for you. Yeah, things were, they were really awful. But the life that I have today is indicative only of God because I could have never pulled off these things in my life that ended up going so beautifully without Him. Okay, so this is an excerpt from chapter 5 of my book, and I'll set it up a little bit. This is when I went back to LA after spending 5 months in Cleveland. I went to treatment back with my original doctors at the Cleveland Clinic, and I mistakenly decided after those 5 months to go back to LA. Here we go. It was fall of 2007 now, and I will never forget it because I was living in a ritzy apartment building, Sterling International Towers, right at the intersection of Wilshire and Beverly Glen. I was the roommate of a woman who owned her own business. I also worked for her. Now, I knew back then that living with someone I worked for could turn out to be a disaster, and I was right. But I needed a job and a place to live, so I took her up on her invitation to not just be her employee, to also be her roommate. Everything was great at first. I loved that building. The apartments were big, they were spacious, gorgeous. There was a pool on the roof. I swam every night. I was pretty happy. That's when a third cycle hit. I have to tell you, when I was going through a mood state, there was nothing violent about me. What you could expect from me were some run-on sentences that didn't really make sense. I had some reality testing issues, and she could see that I was not myself on the job. I was unable to concentrate and therefore not real effective. Now, I did show up to do my job every day because it only entailed some light administrative work, but my pace was very slow, and she knew why I was struggling, but she didn't care. In her infinite compassion, she not only fired me, she kicked me out of the apartment. I was terrified. I had nowhere to go. I was sick, and it was absolutely unconscionable, but I had nothing to say about it. She did not care where I went or what I would do. I suppressed my anger, fully knowing that if I so much as lost my temper, she would probably call the police or something, because I thought, well, I knew that she was looking for drama and would have loved it had I given her more than she was creating herself. So, facing the homelessness I used to joke about as a salesperson, trying to reach her quota and failing, it was a great drummer friend of mine to the rescue. Frankie listened to me crying on the phone that I was in trouble and had nowhere to go. Living with my LA family wasn't an option. They didn't have the room, and more importantly, they didn't believe that I should stay in LA. They would have told me to go back home. They thought it best that I return to Cleveland, which I still was not ready to do. I thought I had to handle this without them, and sadly, without God, who was clearly telling me to get the hell out of LA. Once again, my self-will would not have it. So Frankie came over that night and helped me pack everything up. Now, I had very little since I took only the bare necessities when I left Cleveland following those 5 months. He let me stay with him in his rundown guest house in Beverly Hills until I could get back on my feet. The house attached to it must have been the only thing on the street that hadn't had multi-million-dollar renovations. It wasn't glamorous at all. I slept on a little air mattress on the floor. It had a hole in it and it kept deflating in the middle of the night. It was anything but comfortable. But who was I to complain? I had a place to stay. It kept me off the streets and it kept me out of Cleveland. Every morning I got up and went for a walk. Now, I'm telling you, the houses that were glamorous were really glamorous, and every other one had a pastel colored Bentley in the driveway. So LA is the place of the haves and the have-nots, and I don't have to tell you which one I was. So this was never more evident than while I was staying with Frankie in Beverly Hills. I did find another place fairly soon, in fact. I returned to North Hollywood. At this time, my boyfriend back then was kicking around the idea of moving there. He was still in Cleveland, and he wanted us to be closer. That's when it hit me. Am I really happy here? I asked myself. How could I be? Everything was a mess. So the answer was no. No, I was no longer happy there. So I told him I just didn't think I could stay in LA any longer. And with that, we both decided that I would leave LA forever. Oh, I told you it was a little bit hairy, but you know, something really pushes me to be honest as I tell my story, because I could make it more flowery. It could be a little bit of, wow, it was bad, but now it's really good. I mean, you know, that's part of it because it's true. But all the nooks and crannies, all the difficulties that I endured, they are just a testimony of God's grace and mercy in my life. Yeah, I worked hard and I never gave up. I was relentless, and I still am. But you know, I worked hard for a really long time and did not get my health back as a result. So today I have it all, and I'm so grateful. I hope you're inspired by my story, and I hope you'll share it. My website is mariajacobs.com. Please go to the author tab and contact me if you have any questions.